Good morning, Reverend.
Stop banging on my door.
We just want to talk to you about our magazine.
Preacher man to me this morning. See, I told y'all he didn't
Now
want
I
to hear.
feel like preaching. The title of my sermon is One Nut Wasn't Enough. You had to go and get two. One nut wasn't enough. You had to go and get two. Now, what kind of nut are you talking about, preacher? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, we have so many kinds of nuts in the world today. Now, let me tell you about some of these nuts that we have today. If we look around, we can find walnuts, we can find hazelnuts, we can find Brazil nuts, we can even find acorn nuts too. And if we look at some cereal boxes that we find in the grocery store, we can find honey nuts, we can find grape nuts, we can find almond nuts, we can find cluster nuts too. We can even find banana nuts. Y'all don't hear me. Now you got man nuts, and you got boy nuts. And if you look at the dog, you'll find dog nuts. And if you look inside the hog pen, you'll find hog with nuts swinging, swinging, and dangling too. And if you look at the felines, you'll find cat nuts chasing after rat nuts. And the male gnat that flies around your head, if you grab a magnifying glass and examine the gnat, I believe you'll find that gnats got nuts too. Swinging, dangling. Peter Paul's almond joys got nuts. Mounds don't. There's big nuts. There are small nuts too. And every size in between nuts. Y'all don't hear me. We have left nuts. And we have right nuts. And on every car parked out in the parking lot, I believe you'll find that there's lug nuts holding up the wheels. And I believe that bugs got nuts swinging, dangling. And I believe you'll find mosquitoes with nuts and grasshopper nuts. And if you're bold enough to go deep sea diving in the oceans, I believe you'll find whale nuts, dolphin nuts, and shark nuts. Just be careful that they don't bite your nuts. And I believe that if you go in the middle of the desert, you'll find some coyote nuts, and you will find some lizard nuts, and you will find rattlesnake nuts. Y'all don't hear me. And in some countries, you'll find some great big elephant nuts just swinging, dangling. And I believe you'll find lion nuts chasing after zebra nuts. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. You got uncle nuts, and you got nephew nuts too. You got granddaddy nuts, and you got grandson nuts too. Swinging and dangling. But I'm not here today to talk about all the kinds of nuts that I just talked about. No, I'm here to talk about This nut, this old crazy nut, standing at my front door again this early in the morning, knocking on my front door, trying to talk about a Watchtower magazine. I'm talking about you and Joe. I'm talking about you with your crazy self, knocking. I said knocking and banging on my front door with your crazy self. I heard you knock last Saturday morning on my front door, and I told you then I wasn't interested. Now you got the nerve to be back at my door again this Saturday morning, knocking and banging on my door, knocking my pictures off the wall. Y'all don't hear me. I was laying in my bed trying to get myself a good night's sleep, and then you had the nerve to come banging on my door, knocking stuff off my walls, waking me up this early in the morning, talking about your Watchtower magazine. You got to be crazy. You got to be some kind of nut. And I noticed this morning that you won't by yourself, but you were so crazy that you went and brought two other nuts with you, banging on my front door. You brought two more of your crazy nutty friends. Y'all don't hear me. One nut wasn't enough. You had to go and get two. One nut wasn't enough. No, you had to go and get two. Well, now I'm telling y'all for the last time to stay away from my front door. Y'all don't hear me. And since y'all act like you don't want to hear me, I think it's time to play some ball. Play some ball with your nuts. And since y'all brought the balls, I'm gonna get my bat, my baseball bat, and start the swinging. Start swinging. I'm gonna swing one in the name of the Father, and I'm gonna swing two in the name of the Son, and then I'm gonna swing three in the name of the Holy Ghost. Three strikes you out. Y'all don't hear me. Since y'all done woke up the preacher in me this morning, I feel like playing the game. We're gonna play some baseball. We're gonna play some basketball. And we're gonna play some nutball. I'm gonna start the swinging from left to right. I'm gonna swing at your left nut, and then I'm gonna swing at your right nut too. I'm gonna swing from left to right, up to down, from north to south, and from east to the west. I'm gonna swing with all my might. In the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, and in the name of the Holy Ghost, until I knock 3 home runs. I'm sending all 3 of you home. And as I'm sending you home, as I'm sending all 3 of you home, I believe you'll be praying, precious Lord, take me by my hand, lead me on, and let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord. Lead me on. One nut wasn't enough. You had to go and get 2.